What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 86 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy these podcasts, please share the link with your friends. If you'd like to support our work with people caught in the snare of addiction, homelessness, or incarceration around the world, please click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Homeless and Invisible. Welcome back to episode 86 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Homeless and Invisible. Today's episode comes from men I met at the Tower of Life homeless shelter in Krugersdorp, South Africa. I recently spent 18 days and nights living with more than 70 men in this shelter, and we held a discussion group on the topic of feeling invisible. I'll be sharing the thoughts and words of 11 of these men who have become my friends. So guys, do you feel invisible to society and your family as you live in this homeless shelter? Nathan, you want to start us off? Sure, David. The same day I came out of prison, we went into lockdown here at the shelter for COVID. So I went from being isolated from society inside a jail cell to being isolated on the outside, but within the walls of this homeless shelter. So, yeah, I'm isolated and pretty invisible for a long time now. Tony, what would you like to add? David, when I was drinking, I would hide it away from being seen. And I isolated myself so people wouldn't know what I was doing. I wanted to be invisible. Robert, you're nodding. Yeah, David, when we're using Coke or Crystal, it's the same as Tony said. Everyone can see us. They see us as addicts, and we choose to be invisible. We don't want them to look too close at us. Sam, do you agree? David, I was an addict, so I was a loner. I isolated myself from friends and family. I made myself invisible by choice. I didn't want to be visible because I didn't want to embarrass or disappoint my family. Now I'm homeless, but here in Tower of Life, I don't feel invisible. Wow. I see the common thread there in addiction where you're choosing to be invisible for, I guess, relationship reasons, but you're finding hope here in this shelter, which is pretty cool. David, can I say something? Sure, Michael, go ahead. I don't feel like I'm homeless or invisible anymore. You see, I'm rebuilding my life in this shelter. I'm staying away from drugs and alcohol. I'm establishing a routine, a discipline. I'm getting stronger every day that I stay here, and this really has become a tower of strength for me. Wow, that's powerful, Michael. Kenneth, can you relate to this? David, I feel totally non-existent to my family right now. I lost my marriage and all relationships with my wife and children as a result of 20 years of drug addiction. And they don't want to talk to me or respond to any messages right now. I feel like they would be better off if I didn't exist. My family and others would have a happier life. But inside here, I'm choosing now to accept that, to become invisible so that I can focus on myself and get the healing I need to establish my recovery. Wow, that's a powerful season you're going through there, Kenneth. Stay strong. Scott, what would you like to add? David, society doesn't want to look at you when you live in a shelter. And I have to admit, when I was successful, I drove by this shelter on my way to work every day. And just seeing the homeless guys on the pavement made me work harder because I knew I could end up there if I didn't work hard. But all of us, we walked a path in society previously, and we've fallen away because of hard times, trauma, situations, and circumstances in our life. And now we're on the other side of society. William, what would you like to add? David, I actually feel visible when I'm out on the pavement. And not just by cars driving by, like Scott said. You see, I see and hear people laughing at me because of the way I look. Moms with young children don't make eye contact at all with me. And as a matter of fact, many people avoid eye contact because they think I'll ask them for money. So I guess I'm painfully visible and learning that invisibility can be my friend. Wow, that's a powerful statement, that we can choose invisibility because of the pain of some of the fear that might be in other people. Andrew, what do you feel about this? David, there are times when I am visible, but I find that when I am visible, others have the power to collapse my world. But in here, in Tower of Life, I'm finding that there are people who can be the catalyst to help me grow stronger and find my world again. You see, I realized you can get out of addiction, but to get out of homelessness is not that easy. You know, you need to find a room, get a job, and earn a living. And to get out of homelessness can be so frustrating. It can trigger relapse back into addiction just because of the frustration in trying to find a room, a job, and a good pay. Wow. Very true, Andrew. Lawrence, what would you like to say about this? Well, David, to be honest, I've been avoiding getting out of shelter life for 13 years. And I've just gone from shelter to shelter, and this is the first place that I'm really starting to put down some roots. But in putting down roots, I'm finding out that becoming visible is a hard thing, because it's twice as hard or more to become visible to yourself, to be able to understand yourself so that you can become visible to others and get back into their lives. Wow. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Cherry, what would you like to say? Well, David, for me, the important thing is, how do you view yourself? What do you think about when you look in the mirror? You see, for me, invisibility is when what I think or what I feel, what I say or what I do doesn't seem to matter. And I can be invisible to just one person, or I can be invisible in a group of people, or I can feel invisible to society in general on any of those issues. And I feel that I still want to stay connected. You know, I want to go out on the pavement and say to people, I know your world. I've come from there, but you don't know mine. I want to tell you more about my world so that you can understand what we're going through as we attempt to get our lives back together. Wow. Thanks, guys, for all of your openness and vulnerability as you shared your thoughts on this topic. I know your words will bring a deeper level of understanding to our podcast listeners. And as a way to really close things out, I really want to reach out to the listeners out there to listen to the words of a song, which the video that goes with the song portrays homelessness. And the song's called Invisible by Steve Earle and the Dukes. Here's the lyrics. There's a hole in my shoe, but I don't mind, 'cause it keeps me connected to the ground when I'm feeling like maybe if I ain't careful, I'll just blow away. Then the lightning strikes, the thunder rolls, and I'm okay. Everywhere I go, people pass me by. They never know, 'cause I'm invisible. A shadow hanging low, a footstep just behind. They carry on, but I'm invisible. I'm taking my time, but I ain't slow, 'cause it ain't like I got any place else to go. But there's ghosts in these streets, and they're calling my name, and I follow 'em down in the dark again. An angel bending down to whisper in your ear. You turn around, but we're invisible. A rumble underground, your deepest, darkest fear. You hear the sound, but they're invisible. Brother, can you spare $1 and a dime? The cupboard's bare, and I'm invisible. Travel anywhere, you won't ever find a purer heart, 'cause mine's invisible. I'm invisible. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's words from our guys from the Tower of Life shelter in Krugersdorp, South Africa. And again, I want to give a special shout out to my listeners around the world. You see, I'm planning my trips for 2022, and I'd like to include your city, your country, as I travel. So if you're listening in Guam, England, Ireland, Iraq, anywhere in the world, I'm speaking to you. If you would like me to come to your country, please message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.fromatod.org, and click on the contact page. You can also find me on Instagram at davidfromatod. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay strong.